put him down. You heard her, you know, rap it, Roots, and This Is Your Life, and Johnny Carson.
Let me see the first question you asked there.
Okay. First question. All right, look at the first question. Come on. You ain't supposed to read my questions anyway.
Well, you got to, if I'd had that, I could have refreshed my mind.
Okay. For instance, this is December the 18th, 1985. That's the date.
You know, your daddy's first job he had after we got married? Work at the damn septic tank. I mean, not septic tank, the, what do you call it? At the
Sewer plant? Where?
cattle.
Sewer plant.
That's right. Working, there's a repairing, rebuilding or something, and that's, he'd had no job. See, they've been pulling cotton, you know, before we married. Now, his daddy was fixing fence out there for a farmer, and he let Floyd work a couple of days in his place, you know, to get a little money. And then he didn't give him the job, so when we married, Floyd had nothing. And so he got a job out there at that septic tank. And you know, then, them days you get 50-pound sack of flour for 50 cents. But we didn't need 50-pound sack of flour. I needed a quarter's worth of flour and a quarter's worth of something else, you see. Well, he come in with a 50-pound sack of flour.
What would you do with 50 pounds of flour?
That's what I thought. He loved biscuits.
Love biscuits.
You think your dad has always grew up like he was, you knowed him. Well, you're just wrong.
50 pounds of flour.
Anyway, he's working out there, man, and he said, well, I can't hardly wait to get home. He said, I love them brown biscuits. And that man says, you mean she makes brown biscuits all over? He said, yeah, a lot of it uses a lot of grease. He said, I won't let my wife use enough brown in biscuits like that.
That's dumb.
Well, I reckon so. I use a lot of grease to use enough. But you don't find the flour them days was so good, you could make better biscuits than the white. I don't know what they done to flour. It is black. That ain't on, is it, Wayne? You promise it ain't on? You can see when it's on.
Yeah.
See, I don't believe him. Because he comes at me silently. Please, Wayne, is that on?
No, that's it. I'll turn it on in a minute. Black flour.
Huh?
Black flour.
No, flour.
Okay.
Flour. The flour that they make nowadays is black compared to then. Them is snow white. We had good flour then. The sorriest flour you could buy is better than the best today. Because this flour nowadays don't make good biscuits like it did then.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you.
Well, I ain't going to put that down right there.
Okay. All right. We forget about that.
See, the first thing he done before he went to work down at that sewer plant, because we moved out, see, then that's when he went to work there. His daddy is fixing fence for a farmer. That sounds a little better.
We'll say that then. We won't say nothing about the sewer
Don't say
plant.
nothing about the sewer.
No. Right. Okay. Now I'm going to ask you when you first met him. When the first time you saw him?
I was 12, and he was 15. He came riding up to the house, you know, they lived on the hill, and he says, hello, little girl. He says, is your brother home? And I said, which one? I got two, Barney and Charlie. He said, well, both of them, are they here? And I said, I don't remember whether they were in the house or the barn or what. That's all I remember.
12 years old.
Yeah, he was 15. He called me little girl.
He's probably tall as he was.
Oh, he's bigger than me then, because, you know, it seemed grown, a 15-year-old boy to a 12-year-old girl. The boy didn't have no saddle, but he had a tow sack with stirrups all tied on each end. He put that tow sack over and sat on that and had his feet in the stirrups.
Well, how long did y'all go together and date?
We didn't go together. I never went with a man in my life. There was no date. They wouldn't let me, Wayne. They wouldn't let me go with boys. I never went with your daddy. I never was with him 15 minutes in my life till we married.
How did you get together to decide you want to get married? Don't tell me there wasn't some hanky-panky going along there somewhere.
You see, now this is too long to put on there, because I'm not going to, that's not on.
No, I'm just going to give you an idea of some of the questions.
Yeah, well, see, it ain't going to be no long thing. I'll just answer them with a short thing.
Right, we'll pick out.
Because, see, I'm not going to go through this.
All right,
no, you see, when we lived by them for 3 years, them up on the hill and us down here. But see, and my brothers and J.R. and Floyd was always friends. Well, see, I never did, see, I wasn't allowed to go play up the road with nobody. I mean, I got to do nothing but work. And I wasn't even supposed to speak to them, but I would speak to them whenever they passed. And anyway, after they went and stayed in the West, and when they come back, I was 18 and he was 21. And so Barney had said, you know, the Boatmans are back in Caddo. They had rented that house just right up the street there. It's called Buffalo Street, and about 3 houses. And he said, the Boatmans are back in Caddo. And see, I like Mrs. Boatman, and I saw her letter in the Semi-Weekly Farm News, and she was writing and hoping some friends would write to her, and she wanted some quilt patterns. So I wrote her a letter. I was only about, possibly 16 then. And so me and her corresponded with letters, his mother, you know. And my mother didn't write to her, but I did. She answered every letter I wrote. She sent me flowers, seeds, not what all. But anyway, see, when Florida didn't come back, well, then I had gone to town with, people didn't stay on me, you know, I never get to go to town with myself. And I was walking down the sidewalk there, and so he just met me like that. And he said, well, hello. Maya said, you've grown up since I seen you. And I said, well, so have you. And so we was passing by this drugstore, and I was going to go in there and get me a soda. And I like strawberry soda. He didn't have a dime, see, and I only had a quarter. That's all I had. So I said, I started to the drugstore. I said, let's have a Coke or something. And he said, well, I don't know. He said, and I said, come on. And so he told me later that he was so scared. He didn't know what he was going to do after he drank that, because he didn't have a penny in his pocket. Times was hard. Now, y'all just haven't had no idea. So I had this quarter tied in the corner of my handkerchief. I didn't have no purse. She had no. So whenever he said, no, so I'll just take a glass of water. And I said, no, bring us both up. I said, I want a strawberry. What did I say it was? Strawberry float? No. Strawberry soda. It was strawberry. She put a dip ice cream and some soda pop over it. She brought me one of them on a straw. And boys, and we was talking, see, that's the first time I talked to him since they had come to West. See, I was 15, yeah, they stayed 30. I was 15 when he left. And see, he would have been 18 when they left, because see, he married and took that old girl with him, see. And so anyway, that's why I asked him, I said, where's Rosemary? And he said, oh, we busted up, said, we're not divorced, but said, I didn't get, she was stay out there about a month, you know, out there in the West. And so then I knew my dad be, see, my dad has caught me there, he'd keep my face in, see. So I knew better than to tarry long. So he said, why don't you come up to the house? And said, my mother would love to see you. And said, Liz and all of them said, they just love to see you. And I said, well, I don't know if I can or not. And so I didn't, not that time. But anyway, while we were sitting there, well, he got in his shirt pocket and he had some pictures. He had this real good picture. I still got it in some of the scrapbooks. And I said, oh, that's a good picture. May I have it? He said, you can have it if you want it. So anyway, the girl come and we got up something, and I just shoved that. See, them things was a dime, no tax, see. Well, I had a nickel left. He told me after that we married, he said, God, what in the hell I was going to do if you didn't have it. Because, see, he says, well, I'll get that. And I said, oh, no, my treat. I invited you. So I figured he didn't have no money. So anyway, I paid for it. And, of course, boy, I couldn't walk out there with him. I couldn't walk down the street with him for nothing. Well, see, the next time I was in town, I saw him again, and he said, once he said, my mother wants to see you. He said, go up there. And I said, but I can't walk up there with you. I said, you get on, and I'll go, but I can't stay but 10 minutes, because, see, my daddy will hunt me. So I went there, and she gave me this little flower cut in. I didn't intend telling anybody I'd been there, and I didn't want to throw it away, and I thought, oh, where the hell am I? I walked around town all that hour, I'd get to stay. And I went home, and I was putting it in a little tin thing. And my mother said, what do you got? And I said, I got a potted plant. And she said, well, what in the world are you going to do with that? Where did you get that? And I waited a long time, and I said, Miss Boatman gave it to me. She said, you go up there? I said, they live a block. I said, I went there and talked to her and lived a little while. And so she didn't like that, you know. And then I showed her this picture. And she, well, I thought they was going to stay in the West. And I said, well, they're about. And then you see, he would, you know, Barney would go up there, and they'd go to church or wherever they'd go, to a dance or whatever. And he'd write me a little note. See, and I couldn't put one in the mailbox because, see, my dad would get it. And, see, I didn't know that my dad couldn't read. That's why he'd give the letters. See, he'd catch the mailman. If any boy wrote me a letter, he'd stand out there and get it. And then he would give it to my mother, and they'd go read it, and I'd tear the hell out of it. I didn't know what it said. kid, I'd throw it in the four wind. Well, see, he'd get, well, he couldn't write to me that way. See, and then Barney would bring me a little note. Well, see, finally then, he come out there with Barney one time of a night. Barney lived right down there, and so they wanted me to come down there and play dominoes. So they was going to go hunting after a while. And so I had to take Si and sister with me, you know. So I told my dad and them, I said, we're going to go down there and play. Boy, I heard milk them cows, and I washed them supper dishes, and I was going to go play dominoes. And see, I hadn't started in, you know, really, well, I guess I even got a letter from him. I don't remember. It's too long ago. So whenever we was in there, we was playing dominoes. He and I played partners, and we beat Opie and Barney. Barney and Charlie, I think, both of them. So, see, they had some pecans in this little old back room there, and Si and sister was in there cracking and eating them pecans. They had a lantern in there. We didn't have lights. So then, while these other two played, well, I said, he said at one, let's go eat some pecans with them kids. So we were sitting down there. It was winter time by then, and this little window was out, and he and I was sitting in this window, and them kids was right at our feet, and we was cracking the pecans, and we was talking and laughing and eating them pecans. And walked my dad with a knife. He said, hello, Mr. Parks. He says, hello, son of a bitch. Don't you think it's time you got gone? And I was thinking he'd come out turn the car a bit, and he was with Barney, because they had an old truck. And he went out that dark night. And see, it was a mile over there to a road where you catch a ride. You went this way, it'd been a mile and a half. And he went out that door in pitch blackness, and Dad kicked his tail. And he went out. Then, you see, that's when he wrote me a letter and sent it by Barney. And he said, well, tomorrow I'm going to see about, you know, starting my divorce from a lawyer, and I want you to marry me. And then, see, my dad told me I'd never leave that place again if I ever thought about him or even talked to him. Well, see, then when Saturday come, well, I was going to go up there and tell him, leave me alone, because I wasn't going to stay there for a lifetime. So whenever, see, I started getting ready to go, and my dad had hooked up them 6 head of mules or horses, 4 head or whatever it was. He knew I hated lots of horses at once. I didn't mind too, but he is aggravating. He hooked them some bitches up and put me on a dang thing. It raked up stalks and I don't know what all. That's what he thought I was going to do. And whenever I was dressed, and he says, what do you think you're going to do? I said, I'm fixing to go to town with Opie. And I said, we're going to walk over to her dad's, and we're going to go to town. He said, oh, no, you're not. You're going out there with that flower. Well, he made a grab for my dress, see. I mean, he grabbed for it, but out that door, I shot him. Well, he grabbed everything in that room, and he's throwing it at me. See, he followed me a mile. I just stayed right ahead of him. He was throwing rocks and dirt and sticks, and he went out. I don't know where he got them old pans. They're going clang, clang at my heels. And I just went on walking. Out-walked him, and that's why he always said I was walking some bitch of world. So when he would give out. He was tongue was hanging out, and he was just still throwing stuff. When he stopped, I turned around and I said, well, I said, tell Mama I'll be home whenever Opie's daddy brings it. Well, go to hell, you son of a bitch. I don't want you to come back. So, see, I went on up there with him, and I hooked him to Boatman. I couldn't tell him I was coming. I had no way. I didn't even have 2 cents. See, that's all the money I've rest my life. I asked my dad one time, I said, Dad, you got 2 cents. I'd made the crop. He said, what do you want with 2 cents? I said, to mail a letter. Hell no. I never asked nobody for nothing else. I said, I'll have to ask nobody for nothing. Anyway, so I went on and to Boatman's I hid. And so I told him, I said, see, my dad said, I said, we had a fight. He followed me and throwing everything at me, and I said, he said he didn't care whether I come back or not, and I said, he's mad. And I said, see, since you ain't got no divorce or nothing, and no telling when you'll get it and all, and so I said, just stop, just leave me alone. I said, hell no, it's one time Sam Park's gonna be fooled. I said, I love you, you're gonna be my wife, I don't give a damn if I have to kill old son of a bitch. And so then him and Gray, they is gonna get, they had a knife piece, and they're going to cut him down, and they're going to do it if I wouldn't go, if Floyd said, if I would agree to work it easy and still, that he wouldn't touch old man. But he said, I'll tell you one thing, he said, if this is the end to our friendship, he said, Gray will put it in his life.
Put the hurt on him.
So anyway, and that's all. See, I never rode in a car with him. I never walked down the street with him. I never nothing. So, and see, when I got married, see, I had to order a pattern, because see, they watched me too close, you see, and see, Dad would walk up, if I was even talking to somebody, even said hello, he'd walk up and start kicking me on the back of the legs, on the sidewalk. He would.
Okay, when y'all got married, where did y'all live first?
Well, no, we married in November the 11th, and we moved out, we lived there a month, a little over a month, because we done moved out when Jamie was born. He was born in January. So we lived, and we moved upstairs down there. It had been an old hotel, and then people lived there. Just, well, you know what this old name was. Still live there when we left. Sold gasoline, big old white. Well, okay, we moved up there in one room. $2.50 a month. It'd be $2.75.
Oh, I know where you had that junkyard.
Yeah, old. What's it? Oh, Gladys. Gladys McFarland.
Gladys
yeah.
Gladys McFarland had the old big brother that was a.
Oh, Daddy, or stepdaddy. Yeah.
Me and Norman used to steal junk iron around the back, and then go around the front, sell it to them.
Well, anyway, that's where we lived. See, we lived on there, and like I say, well, didn't have no job, and the day let him work 2 or 3 days. And see, where he got our marriage license, he jacked up that old run-down truck they had, and sold a tire off it for $4. I mean, he pawned it. And the marriage license, no, it's $2. Marriage license $2, because then he went and jacked up the other side and got $4 and bought us a little stove, little cook stove, little wood stove. And anyway, they let him work after a couple of days picking fence. Well, see, then whenever he got this job out that cesspool, I never did know what they were doing down there. He didn't have a mess on him when he come in. I don't know what they were doing. And maybe laying new concrete. I don't know. But anyway, he worked down there until they finished that. And then, gosh, I don't know if he was there. He'd have Jesse Hallwood or somebody want him to unload something. There's no guy haul Bullark Post, you know, and he'd go down there and he hauled them to the west, and him and Gray would help load them. It's just little jobs like that.
Well, where was y'all living when Norman was born?
We were living upstairs at his daddy's house, but now we had a little old house that my grandmother and him used to live in, and it was $15 a month. And so he had a job, him and J.R. Hauling gravel. It was a government job, putting it on a county line road, and they were doing it with old wagon and team. And so he couldn't, they would just let you work every other week. And so with Norman to come in and you know, buy a few things, we couldn't afford that $15 up there. And the old man said, well, come on, live upstairs till after that kid's born, and then you see further and then move. So that's what we done. So we moved up there, and about, I imagine about a month before Norman was born. And then we lived there about a month after. Then we moved in the old condemned house, where you was born, in a condemned house on a barred bed.
Well, what about Norman's name? Where'd you come up with that?
Well, see, I love the name Norman because, well, a little Indian boy out there, I taught him his ABCs, and he was the prettiest kid I ever seen. He's dead now. With Norman Arrington. And you see, I told Floyd to find something. I had a girl's name in that. And he wouldn't pick nothing out. He wouldn't brag, you know, say, well, finally he said, well, we'll name after my dad, William. I said, no, we won't. I don't know Grandpa's name stuck on Norman's name. I said, not at all. So I wouldn't agree to it. So anyway, whenever after Norman was born, well, the doctor put it, I said, what y'all going to name this boy? And I said, well, I picked out Norman, let Floyd tell you. And then Floyd said, well, I don't know anything else. He said, you go ahead, Dr. Cochran, and whatever you want to put on there will be all right. He said, see, there was a nice man that run a cafe there in town, his wife and him, that's where Dr. Cochran always drank his coffee. He said, well, he said, I think old Elsie Hunter is the nicest man I ever met. He said, I hope this kid turns out as good. So let's call him Elsie, Norman Elsie. Floyd said, that's fine. And after he left, Floyd said, I ain't going to call that kid Elsie, I'm going to name him Norman William. I said, no, I said, well, see, it'll go into the Bureau of Statistics. He's Norman Elsie Boatman. And I said, I'll call him Norman Dale. And so that's why I saw some of Norman's pictures on there. We disagreed about that.
Norman Dale, Norman William, and Norman Elsie.
But his real name is Norman Elsie, because whenever that birth certificate come in, he's Elsie. Good, I forgot about that coffee. It's there, and the cups, and sweetening, and everything.
I'm getting it all here.
I bet it's already ready. No, it's a hell of a lot. I wouldn't, you think I'd go back through that. In the first place, I was 18 years old. I told my dad to went straight to. But see, thing is, Wayne, that's just like I am with the laws right now. See, I didn't want to run away from home. I didn't want to be wild. And I didn't want to get married early. God, no, I didn't want to get married early. And start having a bunch of kids with nothing to feed them. And see, if my dad left me alone, if I went for it, he'd probably got on to me about something being jealous, and I would kick his ass away. And see, he was one brought the damn thing on.
Yeah.
But see, he wouldn't let me go with no boy. And I'll swear, every guy that ever talked to me, and I said, see, I can't go with you because they won't let me go nowhere.
Yeah.
Well, see, they would ask me since I was 16 to marry him, and I would marry no. That's just like right now. Hell, I can marry 4 or 5 times a year. I don't want to.
Okay, you're talking about the when I was born.
Yeah.
And you told me a long time ago something about that house.
Yeah.
That was a dandy house. I think Drusy and I drove back by it, and it's gone now. And there's a new.
Oh
brick
yeah,
home
there's another man bought that.
Yeah.
Well, see, it was a real high upstairs. That upstairs burnt off the top. The ceiling didn't burn. We lived there a long time, about 4 years, I guess. And anyway, something come out of the chimney. You know, I mean, we had a wood stove out on the pipe, and it caught the roof of fire. Well, that burned off. Well, see, then we moved, and Gray and Lizzie lived in a big old house, and we moved in 2 of their sort of back rooms until your daddy, he built that back here, him and Gray. They put boards, and we ordered from Spiegel some, what's this old tar paper, and they put that over there, and that's what we had then from then on. It was just 2 rooms and a hall. The hallway separated the living room.
But
I mean,
I think you told me the house was condemned.
Oh yeah, it was condemned from fire. It was dangerous. It was.
And you had borrowed the bed we was living in or sleeping in
we didn't.
To Jesse.
Yeah. Well, see, actually, that was a bed that he let us have. You know, whenever Flood and me got married, him and his wife had separated in Miss Boatman's garage. Well, it was just an old building there. He brought his stuff from West Texas. He had an old table, an old homemade table, and that was an old iron bedstead. You know, wasn't worth nothing. And so my mother brought me a bale of hay. Hell, I'd worked the hay thing all the damn fall. She brought me 1 bale of hay, and Miss Boatman washed the bed tick that old Uncle Billy died on. He died of TV, and she washed that old bed tick, see, and hung it in the sun. It dried. No, she had it washed already before we married. We wouldn't have nothing to put in. She didn't have nothing to put in, just an old bed. So my mother brought me that hay. So anyway, Jesse he had come back to Caddo, living with his mother now, and he said, well, see that stuff out there? I said, I got an old iron skillet and some old knives and forks and that old bed, so you ought to just take it on and use it. Said, it ain't doing no good there. So that's what we had used, you see. Whenever you buy one, what you going to buy it with? So then, see, he got, well, actually, he was jealous. Jesse wanted lots of kids to prove his manhood or something. He didn't have nothing, them 2 little girls. He was jealous we was going to have another kid after Norman. So he thought, well, they're going to have it on the floor because I'm going to get my bed. So he come down there and he said, Rance and his wife and kids, they're going to come up here and visit. And see, Jesse had a bed. He was living upstairs where we had moved from, and that's where he was living when he took the bed. And he said, Lou and Rance was coming. Well, see, they had a spare room in there with a bed in there, Miss Boatman, and they had their bed. He had his bed upstairs. Well, he didn't have nowhere to put that one. He just stood it in the corner. He never put that bed up. So he come down there and he said, I come to get my bed. And I said, well, there it is. Load it up. And so he left the old hay bed because, see, it wasn't his. And then...
well, which bed was I born on?
One of the Indian woman across the street. See, she saw Jesse taking away the bed, and she came there. I always spoke to her nice, but she'd never been to my house. She knocked on the door. She said, why did Jesse Boatman take your bed away? I said, see, it wasn't my bed, it's his bed. And she said, well, do you have another bed? And I said, no, ma'am, I don't. I said, I got the hay bed piled in the corner. And she said, well, now when Floyd comes, said, I got a bed all alone. You said, you tell him to come on out there and get it. So, okay, then, you see, then he applied for a mattress. If you're just going to have a baby, they give you a mattress. See, that's the only mattress we ever had until we pulled that cotton. I mean, we had that one homemade, you know. Because, see, I still let my kids sleep on hay bed. And so anyway, so he got the mattress. So it was a mattress from the welfare, or whatever you call it, a free mattress from the welfare on a borrowed bed in a condemned house.
And that's where I was born.
That's where you was born.
That's a hell of a start. That's a hell of a start.
You was a pretty little fart. You know what, though? I couldn't do it now, but I took care of my kids like gold. And whatever we had to eat, I don't know how, my kids was plump and fat and, I mean, had plenty of blood and clean, and I don't know how I done it. Well, right now, I think, God, well, I'm going to feed them, I'm going to wrap around them. Got no, see, there was no throwaway diapers, nothing like that. And boy, I dried my kids every time they're wet. See, and I saved all kind of rags. It wasn't just diapers, because maybe don't have to just have a certain thing on. Sure, they gotta have just so their little tail is dry. Just whatever you got.
Well, where was we living when Glenda was born?
Living in part of Miss Boatman's house. She had a big old house, and we lived in part of it, and she lived, and we was paying her $15 a month.
Well, was Glenda planned, wanted, or accidental?
Every one of them was accidental except Norman. Nobody was planned for.
Nobody
God, you didn't
planned.
get no baby.
Didn't plan nothing.
Oh, no.
Okay. Well, when Glenda was born, was you wanting a girl or a boy?
That thing ain't on, is it?
No, not yet. I'm
Well,
just trying to
see,
get you used to these questions.
Yeah.
And we'll pick out,
yeah,
we'll pick out the good ones.
You see, whenever I was hoping you was a boy, because it would mean I knew that we could never afford 2 beds, you know, for 2. And I said, God, I hope that's a boy. Well, we can always stick them together, you know. And you was, you see. Well, then I thought later, well, you know, it'd be nice to have. So I was glad when it was a girl. Yeah.
Okay. Was she a pretty baby?
All them kids was pretty. Oh, she was pretty. You bet.
Glenda?
Oh, yes, she was pretty. Of course she was.
Okay, well, where did
she was a fat little thing, too.
Glenda?
Uh-huh.
Was she?
Glenda weighed 9 pounds. Outweighed you. You weighed 8. She weighed 9. Norman weighed 11.
She have any hair?
Yeah, she had black hair.
Glenda had black hair?
Mm-hmm. You and Norman was blonde. Now, your hair was a tiny bit browner than Norman's. But his hair was white. And yours was just barely tinged, you know, a little bit.
Glenda was dark.
Yeah. And her hair was short, wasn't long like Jane's. You remember Jane's hair was long? Yeah, hers wasn't like that.
Well,
when that ain't on.
No, like I say, I want to pick out the good ones.
Yeah.
And then.
Well, see, we ain't gonna add that long shit to it. No. That Glenda, like I say, she weighed 9 pounds. That was the fattest kid. Of course, Norman is fat. Norman looked like a kid a year old and everything. But Glenda was the stoutest darn little thing you ever seen. I laid her in the middle of the bed with on no pillow, on nothing, and I was in there cooking, and she was 9 days old. I heard something hit the floor. And that little fool, way she done, she'd rise up on her elbows like that, and no, she went backwards. Let's see. Yeah, I don't remember now. But she did it with her elbows and kept doing like that, and she hit the floor, and there wasn't a human in there. She fell off the bed.
9 days old?
Yeah, then she was 9 days old.
Hit her head?
I don't know how she hit, this plank floor.
God.
I don't know how she hit. She didn't have no bump, so she must have hit flat of her back or on her belly or something. She cried a little bit, and it didn't seem to hurt her.
Well, where'd you get her from?
Oh, Myrtle. She'd always send me, she did, that's where I got your name, too. See, she didn't have nothing to do with Norman's name. She didn't ever send, she started sending the list of names of you, and she'd send me about 25 boys' names, about 25 girls' names, and she wanted to pick one. She loved the name of Carol. Oh, and Francis loved the name Wayne. Myrtle had Wayne, too, because I think that was one of her old boyfriends, or Wayne. Wayne Hendricks, or Wayne something, not Hendricks something. Anyway, Francis says, wonder why the name Wayne sounds so clean. That's what she always said. The name Wayne sounded clean, but Myrtle loved Carol. Boy, she could say Carol like it. And so it tickled her death. And see, she'd get you all a bundle of clothes, and she'd come down and get me a nice pint of ice cream, and bring me some soap.
Well, where'd you get Glenda's name?
From Myrtle.
Oh.
She loved Linda. And you see,
Where'd the Marie?
Marie. Well, see, my name's Mary, and it was sort of, I didn't want to name her Glenda Mary, so it meant Marie. She had Marie down there, and I picked it out.
So it's close to your name.
Yeah. She would send the names and let me mix them up, whatever. She didn't make me do it. I just wanted her to do it, see.
Okay.
And
well, now, right after Glenda was born, we moved to Goodley. You was telling me.
Yeah, well, now we, see, Glenda was born in, she'd been 9 months old when we moved out there. She was born in November, and December, January, March, April, May, June, July, August. We went out there probably the 1st of September. She would have been 10 months old when we went out there, 10 months old.
And you was telling me about, in 41 when the war started, something about, I was on the phone up there, and I couldn't.
That's where we was living. See, when we went out there, we rented a little old motel, just a little one-room thing from that old man that ran the gas station. His name was Fitzhugh, old man Fitzhugh.
Okay.
And so they had these little old motel rooms, and so we rented that, and it cost, I believe we paid, I believe it's $5 a week. And all you had was a little hot plate gas, you know, and one bed, and I had to make your kids a pallet. So now that's where we stayed, and we pulled cotton. How I did it with that kid, I don't know, but I went and pulled with him, you know, and see, I wasn't old enough to go to school. So, and then you see, when the cotton was over, he went to work at that Longhorn. They don't have them anymore. I think it's Longhorn or something like that. Service station had the sign with Longhorn Bull. I think it was Longhorn, and he didn't sell the gas. The man at the front sold the gas, and he had the mechanic shop at the back. So he was a mechanic after that. And he done plenty of work, but some bitches won't pay. You know, he said, that's why they done at cattle. He too tender-hearted to make them come on up with it, and so he wasn't making much money. So that's where we was whenever you know, it said in, what was that, December the 7th.
Yeah.
See, we would have went out there in September. We would have stayed September and October, November. We'd have been there 4 months, you see. So, but see, I still carried water from, and that's what I was thinking the other day after I get jumping the gun here, but I was thinking, I guess they nail that well up on account of safety. I don't know, but we moved down there in that post office. I forgot what. To me like it wasn't nothing. I believe they let us live there for nothing. But see, there was no indoor toilet, little outdoor toilet with no water and no well, no nothing. Well, see, I asked that woman, the Fitzhughs could carry water. She said, well, see, says you can have that hard water all you want, but now leave my rainwater on. It was raining. Hell, that some bitch running over, and she wouldn't even let me have a gallon. I told her, I said, well, I'll give you a nickel for a gallon to cook some beans. No, it ain't for sale. She didn't like me because that old man liked me, and Glenda, he thought that pretty Stephen was carried around all the time.
Glenda.
Yeah, that's the one he thought was so beautiful. And you see, then I thought, well, where was this old post office? Well, this silly old building, just no wreck. And right across the street was the back of the bank, because the bank faced Highway 287. Well, there was a big cistern that come off the bank, and then I thought, well, I got it made. So I got me an old rope and a bucket, and of course I take the rope and bucket home, and I put the lid on there and put a rock on it like that. But see, they saw me doing it, and they nailed that somebody should. Well, I said, I got to find somewhere, because you couldn't cook beans in that hard water. No way. And well, the only way I could wash it was put 20 routine borax in that rock and come to the top, I'd skim it off and then wash in that. So I found another cistern out there at the back of the gym. But see, I had to go as far as that motel. You see, I had to go across Highway 287, go to the back of the gym and around there. And see, I'd have to leave the mama, you know, with you and Glenda, and to carry my night water and everything, but and it cooked good beans. Well, they saw me do it, then they let some of it shut. Well, see, I thought, well, I'll steal me a bucket of goddamn water from that old woman. She could hear that in her kitchen, because that was piped into her kitchen. And see, the big old windmill was right there by that. And I said, well, I'm going to turn that on easy. I had a gallon bucket. And I had a water bucket to get up this hard water. But I was going to be gentle, you know, and get a gallon, go around that thing. She come. And she says, I thought I told you not to get in that water. And I said, well, it's raining to refill it. I said, I just got to cook some beans. I said, and that's when I told her. I said, see, I'll pay you for the water. So give you a nickel for it. She said, well, you can have that gallon. It's not for sale. So I never did try to get none of the water no more.
It's stingy, ain't it?
Ain't that stingy. Wayne, that's the way our people have always, just like we're down at Dallas. That's why I think of roaches and old goddamn women. See, this old lady Duffy, where we first moved, she liked little boys, but she hated girl babies. She don't. And Glenda C was the sweetest thing, the cutest thing you ever seen, and she didn't like her. So I was going to move as soon as I could, because Edna didn't tell her what had. See, she lied. I was fixing to have Marilyn in Florida, and she said, my sister-in-law and them's got 2 little boys. She said, that's fine. When we come, she asked me, she said, is that kid there hers or yours? I said, it's my baby. Well, you sure wouldn't have got this apartment if I'd known you'd had another kid. That's what she said. So I started right out looking. Well, then I found another one on this year, Sanger Avenue. We was living on Pennsylvania. And there's 3 old maids, and one of them is in a wheelchair. And so, well, told me, so we'll go try to find another apartment, and then whenever I get a day off, well, I'll get Talbert's car. We didn't have a car, we'll move over there. And so we like 2 or 3 days rent up where I lived anyway, and so when I went over and asked them what that apartment was, just one room, about the size of this, it's $7, everything paid. And I said, well, see, I'll give you the $7, but it'll probably be 3 or 4 days, but that'll be fine. You can just, even if we don't move in a week, the $7 will be there, so then we'd start from there. This old one in the wheelchair, she thought I was in there trying to diddle around and move in there without any money. She thought, get the cash. Get the cash in that wheelchair. So, dear, Glenna knows about that, and she used to tell me when she won't make me mad, get the cash. Get the cash. And they said, well, she's giving us cash. And if she don't move here, we've got the $7.
Get the cash.
Damn.
Get the cash.
Get the cash.
Okay, when Marilene and Florine was born, that was in Granny Boatman.
Yeah, and that's what, see, we had, Florida was working there, Ed Myers Chevrolet. He's working nights, hottest weather that God ever saw in the world. Okay, we had no doctor. See, I never go to no doctor.
Right.
I was just there pregnant. You can have 2 babies. And nobody wanted me. And you know what your daddy said, and I got mad at him. He said, well, I'll tell you one thing. I'm going to, when you go to Caddo, he said, I'm going to quit my job, I'm going to go with you, but I'm going to go see Ruby and them. I said, but you see, we're going to have this baby. I know we're going to have 2. I said, how am I going to do that to her? Your mother don't want to attend to me. What do you think, old man, Mom Messenger? I said, no. I said, see, whenever the kids ain't born in the hospital, you got a bunch of shit there, old afterbirth and crap, you got to go bury. I mean, hell, you can't give it to the dogs. And I said, if you think, I said, any damn time that I go to Caddo and have this kid, and you go on your ass to Alabama, you're going to stay. And I said, and when old Mom Messenger has to bury them afterwards, you've had it, kid, you've had it. He never said that no more, and I think I was right.
Yeah.
Damn right, I was right.
All right, you say you wasn't expecting 2.
No.
Well, did anyone get excited?
Well, that's whenever, Dorothy, you see, when I went back down there, I went down there with a little jug of wee-wee with that doctor, because my feet was swelled, and I couldn't get my shoes on, and it was hurting all over. And so he tested my kidneys. I had poison kidneys, nothing, and I said, see, I can't breathe. I said, boy, I can't lay down, I can't stand up, and I can't eat, and I get the heartburn. And I said, if there was a rock right under my rib. He said, well, man, it's a big bag of water. I said, y'all never have a lot of water. I said, hell, it's an octopus. That's what I said. I said, it's got... You know, I'm crazy. I said, it's an octopus. And he never more knew there's 2 babies and nothing. And so whenever, I just one guy, I said, I don't know mother-in-law. I was bashful. I want everybody to leave. See, I wouldn't even get married in front of nobody. I was bashful for it. And I told, and see, Floyd was working on somebody's old car, so he took them, no, that, I'm getting ahead of them. That was Jimmy. Who were we talking about? Oh, they're talking about the twins.
Yeah.
The twins. No, I was getting off on Jimmy then.
Yeah.
Okay, so I told Floyd, said, you want me to go get your mother? I said, after this happens, I ain't want to have no baby in front of no mother and no mother-in-law. Hell, I said, go get me a stranger. Get anything. So he said, well, who can I get? And I said, well, I spoke to Dorothy. Go get her. That's Charlie's wife. I said, go get Dorothy, and that's all I need. Her and the doctor knew who else I need. He's there to bury everything in. So, anyway, and I sent Miss Bowman, she said, well, what can I said, I sent you all over to Francis and J.R.'s, I'm still talking about the twins.
Yeah, right.
So y'all went over, and a little bit, I seen her down to her mother. She left y'all out there by yourself. She said, go down there to them neighbors. And there's a well on the side of that trail with no cover on it. And hell, I couldn't, because when they told me they saw Francis down there, I'm going to have twin babies thinking my 2 boys is falling in a well. And I really had the 2 I already had, just have to have them 2 to replace them. God, what a life. So anyway, Miss Boatman, I wish she went with Glenda, and of course Glenda pitched her feature read when she come back in on. But anyhow, whenever Florida was born, well, that doctor handed her to Dorothy. She put her in a blanket and they saw his little girl. And so that doctor looked around and I said, "What's this thing?" And he looked right at Floyd and he said, "Boy, you got another. You're going to have another." I think that's what he said. Let's see that. "Floyd, there is another one." That's what he said. So then Marilene was born, but there wasn't nobody else down there. And this Dorothy took Floyd out on the porch, and Bernice, you know, used to be my brother's little girlfriend. She'd been to church. I thought, she's like, "Bernice, come on, there's more, there's more, there's more."
So Floyd.
So here comes Floyd in. Dorothy had her. She was first. And here was Marilene with Bernice. She never handled a new baby in her life. Shit, I never did either. I never washed a newborn baby. You know, and all that water, I mean, there was heating on the old wood stove, that's, you know, and there was 2 babies. And you know, I didn't have a diaper. I had because you couldn't buy none, the war was going on. You could buy some, and I couldn't buy safety pins, because you could have to go upstairs and show this manager that you was pregnant, and he'd let you have some safety pins. I told her when I said, "I'll never climb those steps and show nobody I'm pregnant. I'll sew it on with twine." And I had 2 safety pins. I had to pin them, you know, corner-wise, because I didn't have 4 safety pins. I had 2. I think I had 8 pieces of white cloth teared out for diapers. I had 2 gowns, because you couldn't buy nothing in town to make them out of. And I said, "Summertime, let them go naked." And Miss Bowman said, "What you think that baby's going to wear?" I said, "Won't see any clothes? Let it bring it with them." Bring it.
Let them bring their own.
Well, not to. I would wrap them in, and so that's whenever Myrtle heard, you know, I had twins, so she went all over Oklahoma City, not one diaper. She finally found enough out in flannel to make 12 diapers. It's cloth. You had to make it yourself. See, you couldn't buy nothing. You couldn't even buy a pound. You couldn't even buy a block of ice, but every other day, and they let you have a nickel to wear. Shit.
Well, what about patience of the twins, like Marilene and Floyd? Which one was the personalities, more or less? Was Marilene patient and...
No, Floyd was a patient one.
Floyd was...
Yeah. And see, I was going to try to, you know, partly give them a bottle, and Marilene would never drink a drop. She would never. I started as 2 months old, and Floyd just sucked that bottle right down. And I thought, well, now Marilene, I ain't going to just let her be a breast baby and Floyd in a bottle baby. She can suck that bottle, and I saved her one breast. One day I'd give one next. It's hard to think about. And even in the night, the way I tell them apart, Floyd's hair is a little bit longer than Marilene's, and I said, yeah, that's the one with the longer hair, and then I know where to put them. But the first night they was born, of course, I was on the bed. Your dad was right into another old room there, laying on a pallet with you and your kids. And boy, I was tired and felt awful, and so I thought, well, I felt some attitude, and I better cover this kid up, forgot about it, and that other one went rolling. I caught it. I said, oh God, there's 2 of them. I remember now.
Well, if both of them was hungry at the same time.
I didn't let them nurse at the same time. I said, I refuse. I won't do it. I will not do it.
Okay, so which one had to go first?
Well, see, a lot of times they don't both cry. Maybe whichever one woke up. Well, that's the one I'd get it and feed it while it's other. And now after they got bigger, see, I let them nurse you. It's nearly 2 years old. But Pauline said I turned a little cheer. Your daddy got them 2 little cheers. One, I guess that Christmas, you know, like when they was born in August. I guess he got them that Christmas. They were big enough sitting at them, I don't guess. But anyway, Pauline had that little bottle, see that condensed milk in it, and she sat there in that chair and just like that bottle, look up at me and Marilene. Whenever she saw me put Marilene down, she'd put that bottle on the floor. She'd hold her little hand up, and I'd take Marilene.
Marilene had to be first.
Well, if she was well, not really, but she raised hell to see more. And Pauline was really I thought the condensed milk, and fat. Pauline was the fattest little baby you ever saw. Well, Marilene was fat, but Pauline had the biggest legs. And now their complexion, see, Marilene was whiter. Floydine had thicker, you know, like a kid. You know, you can tell their skin. Her skin would tan easier, and Marilene just like normal. She is right now, white. But anyway, they loved each other, and they never hurt each other. They didn't pull up and knock them down, or like Billy, he used to just crawl over on that and sure, you know, he didn't, just like they was a dog. But never, them kids never bumped heads, and then like whenever they went to sleep, they were just as close to wherever they was. I don't care when they was crawling, they was there. They, you know, just right by each other. They was inseparable. And then, like, as they got bigger, about 3 years old, if Marilene took something or she hurt Floydine, and I'd say, now Marilene, I'm going to paddle you, and Floydine said, no, whoop me, whoop me, whoop me. She didn't want me to whoop Marilene, I don't care.
So what about Marilene? Would she care if you whooped Floydine?
I don't know, I never did try that.
Okay, now Jimmy, he was born down there at Rice's cabins in that old, no, he was at the,
Old Rice cabin?
yeah, in the Rice cabin. Wasn't in the big house. No, that was in the...
We moved there in the fall. Jimmy was born in February, and we moved there the day your daddy went to California. Me and Norman hand moved everything. Well, of course, you helped move the smaller stuff. And me and Norman carried the old potbelly stove. We carried the old oil stove. We moved out there by hand. Well, your daddy's going to go pick peaches or something and try to make some money. He didn't. He made a failure. No, we didn't have any. Floyd was driving an old truck for an old guy in Dallas named Davis-Boatman. But he could never, the weather was bad and there just wasn't enough hauling. I don't know, they just couldn't make any money then with them trucks. He never did make enough for nothing. And see, old Bill Big, he wanted us to move to Dallas, and he had a store out there on the Grapevine Highway. See, Floyd didn't tell him we were expecting another kid, and he didn't know how many we had, because he didn't know me. And he thought, I guess just me and Floyd and two boys. And he wanted Floyd to move down there and haul with a truck and me run this store. And Lord, I couldn't run a store with that many babies, so that was out. So whenever, then I guess Floyd told him that, you know, that he needs some money in that something. But anyway, he sent $30 up there, put it in my name. He wrote me a check, and that was to pay the doctor. See, it would have been $25 is what they charged, you know, to come deliver a baby. And so he gave me 30. Well, we didn't have a bite to eat, and I went and spent $15 for some damn food. So I give that doctor $15, and he delivered Jimmy, and that was it. And then I had saved, I think, $40. When we come from Dallas to tell Marilene Floyd, well, we had to have something to eat. And whenever they was born, that doctor told Floyd, he said, well, it's $15 for delivering a baby. I'll deliver this baby since they're twins, 25. And I thought, he got 15.
That's all he got.
That's all he got, all he ever did get.
So
nobody's paid for except Glenda, and we pull bowls, and Janie. Nobody except Jane and your daddy and me pull bowls and sold whiskey and paid for.
For Jane.
I still owe $50 on that. I didn't ever pay it out.
And you paid how much for Jimmy?
$15. I say.
So he's a $15 baby.
Yes, and 15. The twins would be $7.50 apiece, and I believe I had 15 when you were born, and I didn't have nothing when Norman was born, but he'd been fixing fence for the doctor, and I think he'd fixed about $15 worth, because he just got $1 a day for working. He'd worked about 2 weeks for that doctor for fence, so Norman's paid for by him working for the doctor, and so then, like I said, Lynette was born down there, and it was $125, and whatever I had, and then that was for the doctor. I was a doctor too or not, I don't know. About like $50.
Okay, then after Jimmy was born, we moved to Quanah.
Yeah.
And
Jimmy was 9 months old. No. Yeah, let's see. Yeah. Jimmy was just 9, because he was born in February, and we went out there
the following
13th of September.
Yeah, early fall in there. You know, moved down there by Quiggs, and then moved down there by the railroad
Well, we
track.
moved upstairs first at Quiggs, and then
2 rooms.
And whenever the people downstairs moved, we lived up there several months. We lived down the winter there.
Yeah.
And then we moved downstairs. And then after we moved there, we moved up to old man Griffin's house on Front Street, or Houston Street, and then we moved back to Ruth and them's house they bought it.
Down by the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See,
okay, now that was there too. I was going to ask you to remind me because I read where old Bill Garrett died. Did you read that?
Yeah.
Where old Bill Garrett died?
Yeah, she died.
Okay. Refresh my memory on that deal. It's faded. I know you and her got into a fuss over a chicken.
Yeah.
Whose chicken was it?
Where's your daddy's chicken? I mean, mine, I raised it. See, me and Norman went out to Goodlett that spring, and we bought 50 or 100 little chickens. Norman was working, and he paid for them. And so we raised them silly things, and we ate the fryers. That's what we raised them for. See, there was, we had some old big red hens, and I don't know, we were going to get rid of them, so we sold them. But Floyd said, now them two little yellow hens, that's all it was, just two. He said, I want them to lay my eggs for my breakfast. He said, they're pretty and I want to keep them. And I said, okay. So we kept them. And they stayed right around the house, you know. Well, see, I was in there ironing, and old Bill Garrett come to the door, and she said, Mary, one of my hens has got over here, and I brought old Edmund over, old Renner. Said, he gonna help me catch it. You don't mind, since out here in your garden, you don't mind, do you? And I said, no, go ahead and get your hen. I thought she was telling the truth. See, she had big old, see, my hens was yellow. Hers was red, because mine wasn't red. And so then, after a while, Ruth called me over to the fence, and she said, you know, Bill got that little yellow hen of yours? And I said, well, she said that her old red hen was over here. She said, that wasn't no red hen. I seen her go across over. I said, she had that little yellow hen. And she went in that house with that yellow hen. I said, she not no red hen at all. So I said, well, I can't do nothing about it until, I said, Floyd was asleep. See, he was working as an engineer at the oil mill. He come in 6 o'clock in the morning, and he had to sleep, you know. I said, well, I can't do nothing, you know, I always let him be the boss. And I said, when he wakes up, I said, whatever he tells me, it's his. I'll save that chicken for him. And so whenever he woke up and got good awake, I said, you know what? I said, well, Bill Garrett come over here to get her red chicken. And I was ironing. I never go out there because I thought, and I said, Ruth said she got that yellow hen. She seen her when that old man caught it because she told him to catch it, see? And they went walking back over there with it. And then he told me, he said, well, go get the chicken or get the money or go for ass. So I went over and knocked on the door. And I said, Bill, why didn't you get my chicken? And she said, why didn't you get your chicken, you hungry son of a bitch? And I hit her.
You hit her?
Her glasses went to the damn sky. And she didn't call me a hungry son of a bitch. She was a hungry one. And why, that silly thing. And then she said, you know, she went to pick up a board. And she was going to hit me this board, and I just took it and I held her. And then I started pushing her face into the screen door because I didn't want to just beat her up. And the old man was afraid, he's still hammering shingles, you know, nailing them shingles. See, he told the law that they got the yellow chicken. They knew that I had to pay a fine for...
The law came?
Well, I had to go down there and pay a fine. Well, yeah.
That was your first experience with the law.
Well, that was worth it. And see, she told him a lie. See, whenever she told me, though, whenever I said, Bill, where's my chicken? And she said, wasn't my chicken. And I said, well, show me, if you got it in a pot of cooking, show me the feathers. And that's when she told me. She said, well, I done burned them. That's what she said. And you can't burn wet feathers because you got to scald the chicken. And what she done is in her trash. I didn't go look at her trash bar. And that's when she walked out and she said, well, I've got that chicken. Said it's as tough as a boot. It's my old hen. And I burned the feathers. And she said, and you hungry son of a bitch. And that's when like I said, her glasses went to the sky. And then she reached down to get this board. See, well, I just held her board and all. I was bigger than her. And then I started pushing her, and I guess I've still been doing it, because when I get mad about it, I pushed her face and pushed her face, and she's hollering, Edmund, she's carrying me to go. Well, see, Daddy come because I guess he heard screaming, and he come from the house. He come up first, said, let her go, let her go. I said, you said, whoop her ass. He said, I didn't say kill her.
Whoop her ass,
I didn't say kill her. So then when the old man come on, she blew at the face. So he goes, he has me arrested. So here comes the law. And they said me to be down there in court, told him, they didn't talk to me, they talked to you, Dad. They said, well, your wife's been arrested. The old girl said she come over there and she come in her house and she beat her down with a pot. I never was in her house. They said, see, that old man, they went and got him and he told the truth. And
hit her with a pot.
Yeah, I went in her, she wouldn't let you in her house. Anyway, we went down there. The fine was $18.50, and we had $20 in the bank. See, Norman was working at the creamery, and he gave me, our car was 1950 Chevrolet, and it was $60 a month payment. And Norman gave me $15, you know, every week. Well, I just go put the 15 in there. Well, whenever I'd write a check then for the car, I'd always have $3 or $4 in there where it wouldn't be flat. So anyway, Frank had always told me if I whooped a bill, he'd pay my fine. Well, see, here come Norman, and here come the man from the creamery. And of course, Frank wasn't home; he was working. But they was all wanting to pay my fine. I said, "I'll pay my own fine." I said, "Give me, you didn't have your own checks in." I said, "Give me a check, blank check." Boy, I sat there and wrote that $18.50, handed it to him, boy. And when that was cash, I went down there. I think I had that was $18.50, and 50 cents made $19.20. I had $1.50 in it. $1.50. And you know what? As long as your day lived, we never had another penny in the bank. That was it.
Afraid to put it in the bank? You'd have to pay it out in fountain fines.
Oh, that was worth it. But at the fair out, if somebody steals your chicken and calls you hungry, somebody said, "What are you hungry? They got you beat."
Yeah, you ain't got nothing to eat. They steal
See, that old
chicken.
woman, all her life, she drank wine, and she scared all them women. She'd get on this round page, and they'd close the door. They said, "Don't go on round page. She's liable to get you." And I said, "Well, see, I ain't afraid about it. If she ever does anything to me, I'll just whoop her tail." And old Frank Quigg said she used to stand over there and make faces at my mother, stick her tongue out at her and all, and he said, "If you ever whoop her, if it's $100, I'll pay you a fine."
So you did.
I whooped her, but I paid my own fine. Norman sat at the door, and the milkman, all of them, he said, "Well, I'll pay that, Mom." And of course, your daddy didn't have enough money to pay it, so I said, I'll pay my own fine. Wrote that check. Last check I ever wrote.
Okay, when we y'all moved up there to that house by the American Legion, that old big house, you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to remember, because Jimmy's so crazy now on his waking up. When me and Fred went to Colorado, me and him and Fred went to Colorado, and Fred had this window, you know, that you could get back from the front to the back. Jimmy went back there and went to sleep in the back. So I sneaked back there. We was driving down the highway, and I went through this window. And I jumped on top of Jimmy and started biting him on the neck. And he went just crazy as a loon. And it reminded me of when you used to wake him up at that old big house. Tell Lucy about that, how you used to wake him up.
See, he would tell us the hardest boy in the world to wake up. So he used to when he was little. You carry him anywhere, and he'd never know it. You could just go as a sleephead, the same thing. And so he wanted to get to his job, and he'd tell me, he said, "Mama, now wake me up." I said, "Jimmy, you won't wake up." He said, "Well, get me up." He said, "Do anything in the world to me short of killing me." That's what he said. So I'd beat a pot, you know, and he'd open his eyes and he'd throw an ashtray, you know. I knew just because I could have whipped him, you know, but we were just playing, I guess. And anyway, then one time, it was summertime, and whenever I couldn't get him up, I done beat the flour and I done everything. He done threw it all ashtrays. I mean, he was sound asleep, and I held this pot over him. I said, "Jimmy, wake up." He opened his eyes. I said, "You don't get up right now. I'm going to empty this pot of water on you." It had a handle and it held about a quart. "You ain't got the nerve." I said, took me a week to dry his bath, but
Did he get up?
he got up.
Look wild-eyed. Okay. And he told me something, too, about
Are y'all hungry? Y'all are fooling away your time with me.
Well, I want to get these down first. We may have to come back tomorrow night.
Yeah, why don't we after we talk so much? I'm tired.
Okay, that's all right. We'll pick out the best one and do it tomorrow night. But he was telling me about some poem, you know, how his schoolwork was. He wasn't real...
Oh, God. Don't you remember Jimmy?
No, he told me and Fred a little bit about it.
Well, see, you know, the mischief that Jimmy got into, that old, what you call it, the juvenile officer.
Yeah.
See, Jimmy and me went down there, and we told him that Jimmy was going to go to Dallas, and him and this other boy, and he had a job down there. They were hauling, resetting saw, you know, mooded grass or something along the street. I don't know what the hell he was on, where he was staying. But anyway, he was only 17. And see, they told him he was going to have to go to school until he was 17, I guess. Well, that was in the fall, you see. He wouldn't been 17 until February. or 18, whatever it was. 17, I guess. Anyway, he went down there and he got this good job, and wrote home and said he'd done okay, and him and this other boy had a room rented and all. Well, see, old Ben Whittington, he told Jimmy just to go ahead and sign all of them. He was on probation and shit, and sign all of them and leave them there with me, and each month I'd go put them on Uncle Ben's desk. He didn't have to pay no money. And see, if anything happened to Jimmy, I would let Ben Whittington know, and he knew it. So he was on Jimmy's side. So every month, from the time Jimmy went until school started, I'd go and put one of them on where the Whittington died. And then there was another guy, took over. So then whenever Jimmy went to school, the first day of school he didn't, because he was down there working. So this teacher and this juvenile officer they called me and they said, "Where's Jimmy?" And I said, "Well, see, he's in Dallas. He's working." And they said, "Well, what about him reporting here?" And I said, "Well, Uncle Ben Whittington said as long as he was okay and had a job, just so he reported, would put that, mail it or send it to me, and I'll put it on desk." He said, "Well, Ben Whittington is dead, and we've changed it, and said that ain't the way to do it, so get him up here. Tomorrow, he better be sitting there." And I said, "Well, see, he's out on his job, and I really don't know that company. I know where, the letter that he sent that he was working, but he didn't give me all the details yet, because he ain't been out of it. And I said, "Now, how in the world am I going to get here and have him sitting in that school tomorrow?" They said, "By chartered bus, by," I don't know what all, they didn't say all that smart stuff, "airplane or train," he didn't give a damn what, he better be up there. So, of course, I called and finally located Jimmy, and I told him to get his ass home, and they're going to put him in jail. So it made him mad, because he didn't want to come home, I don't even remember how he come. I guess he come on the bus. I really don't know. It's been so long ago. And whenever he said, well, he didn't want to go back to that school. And I said, "Well, you're going to have to, whether you want to or not." So he went to school. He never said a word. That teacher would call me. He said, "Jimmy you can't get nothing." I said, "I asked him a question, he won't answer it. And I issue him this stuff, and he don't get it. He don't read, he don't answer nothing, he don't nothing." And I think he whooped Jimmy's tail a time or two. I said, "Well, see, that wasn't into that deal that you and I made." I said, "You told me to get him there, to get him in the seat." I said, "Is Jimmy up on that seat?" "Yes." I said, "Well, shut up then, because that's all you asked for. If you don't want to talk, you don't have to." Okay, that raven, it was that old poem. So all of them repeat that old raven and something about outside the window, and I don't know what all. Well, see, Jimmy knew the whole poem, because he repeated it to me. He said, and I said, "Jimmy, you got sense, learn that poem." He said. So Jimmy sat there and he recited that poem to me. He said, "It's ignorant, and I'm not going to do it." He didn't, not to them, he did me. And he said, I got them lessons, I know them, I'll study them, but I ain't going to give them nothing to them." So that old guy called me then one day, it's before Jimmy, in January. He said, "I'll tell you what, this boy is driving me crazy." He said, "I'm letting him go." I said, "Fine with me, send him home." He couldn't stand it no more. Jimmy outsmarted him. And that's why I say, I don't care. I don't want Jimmy's side. So Jimmy come home and went and got him a job at Rice Pack, and done real good. That's what I told that teacher. See, they come down one time, I took Jimmy to the dentist. Janie had the measles. She was 8 years old, and Jimmy had had a bad toothache or something, and that was before that dentist ruined his gums. I called to that schoolhouse and I said, "I got to take Jimmy to the dentist. He won't be in school today." So they didn't say it was all right or not. But then I didn't call Janie's teacher, because she was too little to play hooky or anything and all, and I knew better than that. So I heard somebody knock on her and rung that old doorbell, and I went out there, and there stood the old bald-headed Passmore, and then Janie's teacher. He walked up. I mean, the principal from that over there. I looked around and I said, "What are you doing here?" And he says, "Well, Jimmy ain't in school today." I said, "I told you that Jimmy had to go to the dentist. He's in there in the bed, half dead." And I said, "And you son of a bitch, you won't grow a hair on your head, one way or the other, where he ever goes out." Boy, he got. And I turned around and looked at him, and I said, "And you son of a bitch." I said, "I know when to send my little eye, my late, your girl is sick." And I said, "She got the measles, and goddamn, don't you come here no more." Boy, he just fell off that porch. Passmore went that way, and he went that way. I told him that. So Passmore, he's an old Church of Christ preacher. Yeah, no, I didn't care. And see, it rocked on like whenever Jane had asthma attack. Whenever she went to school, and that one made her run around the building twice, and Jane couldn't get her breath. See, no matter how healthy you are, if you can't breathe, you're going to die.
Right.
Well, Jane said she thought to God she was going to die. And see, whenever I called that woman, I told her, I said, see, and she'd been stepping on them little girls' backs, saying, get out on the floor, you know, that stuff. She was hurting the little girl's breath. She didn't step on Jane, but she did them others. And see, I got her. I told her, I said, listen, Jane ain't running around that building another time. And I said, you step on them little girls. She said, I ain't never stepped on your girl. I said, no, but you have them others. I said, whenever you do them, there's going to be somebody on that floor between you and I, and it's going to be you. And that old girl told Jane, said, well, your mother ain't feminine. She wanted to fight me. And she said, well, she'll have to have a thing from my doctor. I said, you shall have it. So I took Jane down to old Dr. Rogers, and I said, see, she's not sickly or nothing, but she has a touch of asthma, and she can't get her breath if she runs in the moist, you know, in the cold air. He said, well, of course not. Boy, he wrote that. We took it down to Moses and got a frame for it. We put it on Passmore. I knocked on the door. He wasn't there, so we went to his desk, and I propped it up there. And Jane said she never seen that nothing, and I guess they took it out of that frame. I don't know. But you know what? Glum didn't think I'd done that, but I fought for my kids all the time.
Well, when Jane was born, where did we get her name?
Now Myrtle can handle that. My grandpa and my uncle used to call me Mary Jane. Well, and Jimmy was walking to school with a little girl called Jamie. And a friend that I went to school with, her name was Laura Dane. Okay, so your grandmother was Dora, or Laura and Dora. Well, I don't know, I just never did like, the Dora just didn't match. So I picked that out of, because they call me Mary Jane, and I like that little girl that she walked to school with. And I said, well, Laura Jane instead of Laura Dane. And that's where I got that. And the Lynette, them girls read a story about a little princess or something, French or something, and her name was Lynette. And I put the Janice. I just thought Janice and Jane was key.
Yeah.
And that's where Lynette got her.
When you drove off the other day from the shop, I was looking at your car, and it reminds me of when you and Paul was living together over there, and he backed out and hit you, sideswiped your car, and I was telling Drusy, but I couldn't remember what it was that you picked up.
I picked up the thing he knocked off my car. You know, the edging, the chrome.
Yeah.
And I broke his windshield with it.
Oh, you got, in other words, he knocked the chrome.
Yeah, and I picked it up. And see that somebody was trying to run from me, and he got his old wheel at the porch cement, and he couldn't back up. He hit me again, and I just stood there until I beat it out.
Beat his windshield out.
Yes, I did.
With your chrome.
Yeah. Cracked it all down, and see, then he went and old Payne and told him, he said, see, said I was in Wichita, and I was at a kind of rough place, and said, I guess some hippies or something, they broke my leg. And he got it, you know, for him. So.
And you beat it out with the chrome.
Yeah. Well, see, I told him when he went out there, see, he was mad at me, and I don't know where he drank a beer, but see, he was, you know, giving me hell. And so he said, well, I'm going to go down the street and I'm going to drive 100 miles an hour. I said, I don't care. And he always told me that's what he's going to do. And see, I don't care. I don't care if he killed himself. I said, but you hit my car, you silly son of a bitch. I said, you're going to pay for it. And so I ain't going to hit your car. And out he come with bang. Well, I went there and he was pulled up off my car. And I was at chrome. And so then when he pulled up, see, he was hung there. And I just beat it up.
Beat his windshield.
He was scared. He was scared to death.
Okay, you was telling me, I meant to tell Drusy too about when Daddy would get mad at you, which I'm gonna start doing with her.
Won't work.
It won't work. It worked with Daddy.
Well, okay. Hey, I don't know what you're gonna tell. Why we got all these lights on? They're blinding me whenever we don't need it.
No, not right now. We don't. But I think
we're gonna wait till tomorrow to do that.
Yeah, it's
I can get out now.
I know it. But I was telling Drusy how Daddy, if he was mad at you, you'd pour his first cup of coffee.
Oh yeah. Now he'd get up and get his own. That's all the time. He never poured himself a cup of coffee or nothing. And another thing, well, see, when I spoil people, and then after I spoil them, if I spoil them and they be good, I spoil them and they be mean, then I got to be mean back to them, see. See, I had to, like whenever he wore a long handle underwear in the wintertime, I had to put them on the end of the bed just so. He wouldn't put them on. And whenever he had clean socks, I'd have to take the dirty ones and take them where he couldn't see them, and I'd have to lay a clean sock on that toe and that one of the shoe. Then he'd put them on. Because see, if I just laid them down there dirty, he'd put the dirty one on, leave the clean ones there. And I
you had to put one sock on one shoe.
Yeah, put the shoes like that, and this sock like that, you know, across the toe, and take the dirty ones into the dirty clothes room, you know.
That's not a bad idea. Start putting my socks like that.
You're out of luck.
And that thing, he would do this invariably. Cause I always wanted anybody to rest after work, cause he'd get away over here, you know, and he'd let his arm hang off like that, and I'd creep off my side of the bed, and I'd creep, get a chair, and I'd put a blanket or a sheet under that. He was awake.
He knew you was doing it.
Yeah. Towards a little bit, he'd turn over, just like, you know, he had just rousing from a long sleep, and he'd turn over. But that's where my birds are spoiled and everything.
Okay, now, we don't, for posterity, we're not going to want to talk about your DWIs. No.
No.
I can remember when you called me that first time and said, Wayne, you know, hell, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. And you sounded half-tooted. And you called him dirty names.
I said, I was over at that. That's the only time my dad thought, because I was over there, they had a little get-together here, and there's a phone on the wall. Yeah. I said, Wayne, them mothers said I was drunk, but I'm not.
And he kept saying, Mama, now be nice.
Be nice, because you was talking bad about him.
Yeah. I don't care if there's having it taped. They need it.
Then you go in there to Jimmy's old cell.
Where I snuck him the pell-mell. Boy, I sure the outlaws. I hate them now. But see, when that's what bothers me so bad now. See, I'm older than any son of a bitch in front. Me and George Burns are the two oldest humans. See, my dad, he wouldn't let me talk to boys. He wouldn't let me go nowhere. Didn't have no car. I had to ride a mule, or then they followed me. And then, see, whenever I got me a car and I got gasoline, my kids would buy me pretty clothes, whatever, and the law says, well, you ain't going to drink a beer. That's just as bad as what my dad and them said, well, you ain't going to Boatman's. No, sir, you ain't going to Boatman's. And you know what? I asked my dad one time, I said, what is it that the Boatman's ever done for that? What is you don't like about them? Well, you just don't like them son of bitches. And I think what it was, that Mr. Boatman and my dad were such two different people, you know. See, the old man hated to drink. And boy, every Sunday, well, most every Sunday, you know, they go to church. You'd see him pass on, he'd have a white shirt on and whatever, and he just didn't like people. He just didn't think, I don't know what he thought that you ought to do for him to like him. I don't know. But see, Mr. Boatman had nice manners, and I remember whenever he come down there to get acquainted with Dad and them, I knew that Dad wasn't going to like him. I thought, man, that man talks like a school teacher, you know. And I know Dad said, well, we're just fixing to have dinner, I think it was. And I remember Mr. Boatman said, well, I just had a game tonight and before I left, something like that. And I thought that was cute. And anyway, see, and Mr. Boatman liked me, so whenever they went west, he'd come down by there, and he said, if your folks will let you, if you'll see if them chickens up there, get some water, and said, I think they'd make their own living. You don't have to feed them, but I fed them. I'd just need corn and grain and bread and everything else for I fed them. And I'd water them, you know, and he said, I'll buy you a brand new dress. And we come back. Well, see, they decided to stay. And so they come back, get the rest of their stuff, and them chickens just disappeared. You know, I caught my dad. I think because a time or two, I'd come in and we'd have chicken, and I'd see feathers wasn't right. Cause I believe my dad went up there and got them damn chickens. I believe he did. I didn't. And so anyway, there's all doggone. So the old man brought 4 yards of pretty checkered blue and red stuff. and it's fool afraid to make me a dress anyway. Well, Earl and Gray Blakeney, you know, that's the Francis brothers there in that rest home in Caddo. The old Gray's got legs cut off, and Earl is there too. That's what Dorothy said in that letter. And see, they farmed on this side of us, and Boatman's on that side. And one day I think I told you that the other time, me and my brothers was coming down there from hoeing our cotton, you know. Well, Earl was out there. He was hunkering down and watering their stock that they'd been plowing that day. My mother looked out the back window. Well, see, he was hollering at my brothers and waving. I waved my little hand. Boy, look at my little hand. Boy, come out here. Let me live down. You waved Earl, didn't you? I was about 13. No, I said, he spoke to, they always made me laugh. I said, he was waving it morning them, Charlie. But I seen you wave. And blah, blah. Boy.
Couldn't even wait.
Ooh, couldn't wait. No, sir. Couldn't wait. And see, that brings all that back whenever them mothers, as I call them, followers in after me and said, well, I saw you out here before, and tonight I'm going to take you to jail. What about all them other people? And so that's what I said to him. I said, why are you two young men down here messing with a little old lady when all them other people up there, they're drinking too? I said, I was hungry. I wasn't having a good time. I was going home. I said, do you think I can't drive? Let him drive my car and take me home. No, we'll take you to jail. Because I told you, I've seen you out here before. Well, see what it was. They were waiting out that highway, and whenever I turned, they thought that I was shunning them. Because he said, why are you going this way? I said, because I live out just off Hillcrest Drive, and this will always go. I told him that. But that man that pulled my car in, I'll tell you, he's big enough that he apologized to me. He damn sure did.
Knew he was wrong.
You know he was wrong. You bet. He said, but I said, I told him, let her go. And he said, of course he lied, imagine. He said, he wouldn't listen to me. He said, I think it made him worse. But he said, you wasn't a drunk enough person to hold in. So you could have made it home all right. I said, I know it.
Well, of all the Boatman kids like Daddy and old Talbert and J.R. and all their kids, whose kids do you think eventually did turn out the best?
My kids and Daddy's. Well, you turned out, you mean all of them turned with our kids?
As far as being successful.
Right. But see, that wouldn't have made my dad have liked you. See, he wouldn't even speak to me. See, and that's what I told Floyd. I said, let him go to hell. See, he would cross the street. He didn't speak to me or Floyd either until, see, we was married 14 months when Norman was born. Okay, Norman was about nearly a year old. I guess it was probably was a year old. And whenever he got down out there in that lumber yard, you see him like froze to death. And it's 4 o'clock one morning, and somebody knocked on the door. And he'd never talked to Norman. He'd never touched Norman. He'd never looked at him. He hadn't even said hi to us. And whenever Floyd opened the door, why, he said, well, hello, Mr. Parks. And he said, can I come in? He said, I'm cold. And he was wet and cold because he got drunk. And I know he'd started up there. Or he might have went to going to old man Listman's, because he stayed there sometime. He got down. Well, he says, well, sure. Says, come on in. Says, we'll build a fire and warm you up. And then, of course, I got up, put my robe on, and Norman was asleep. And I left him laying on the bed. And so Floyd and I, we didn't have one bed, but we set up the rest of the time, and I cooked breakfast early. And Dad laid on that bed and just passed out asleep, and we got that fire going warm. And next morning, like I say, I cooked breakfast early and ate biscuit, I guess. I don't know how to cook. So I told Dad, I said, well, I got coffee made now. You want to get up? He said, yeah. And then he told Floyd, oh, he was talking to Norman, oh, he was a big fine boy, I don't know what all. Then he asked Floyd, if he bought the gas, we had an old car, would we take him home? Well, it's real muddy and all and cold. And so I said, well, I don't know, that road's pretty muddy, whether you can make it in the car or not. So I tried to get them to go on, just Floyd take it. I know they went there. They went in, Norman went to go get him. I mean, go with them. So after we got out there, well, he went out there and he saddled a horse, you know, and then he told me, he said, bring that boy out here. He said, I want to see him ride this horse. And see, he wasn't making me like him no better. And I took Norman out there, the old fat thing just could open his legs out to get on that horse. He's holding on to that saddle. Of course, I was holding on to Norman too, and he was leading the horse and walking around there. So from then on, you know, he acted like that, but it's all put on because Floyd would take him to go get a beer, you know, and stuff like that, and the boys wouldn't. And, but anyway, he done lost out. But you think that was right? Like I say, now I couldn't be telling lies 'cause I couldn't even think up that shit.
Yeah.
But now ain't nobody got no reason doing anything about that until 18 years old or 20. I'm 19 when I married. I had no freedom.
Well, show me you. I want to hear you clown do that again, and then we're going to let you alone. Ain't that the dumbest thing you ever saw? Well, what are those? No. Those gripper things?
Oh, that is my exercise.
Oh, you. That's hard.
I know it. I ain't done it very much. I got them last winter, no, whenever I couldn't go ahead and take my exercise.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't that Andy Coleman,
No,
is it?
no, it did show a ring on
It would.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, I wouldn't have all, you just have to rub out what all I said tonight.
Yeah, that'd get you in the mood. God, it's 7:30. I bet you hadn't ate or anything.
Not hungry. I ate at Paul at 2, and I never have hungry about 8, and I just ain't hungry at all right now. What about y'all? Do you need more coffee?
No, we're going to have to go. Oh, if I can get up. Had it all zipped